January 18th, 1968. You're not on. Oh, sorry. January 18th, 1968. 1968 Women Doers Luncheon. Why do kids rebel in the street? Lady Bird Johnson asked. Eartha Kitt replies, "'Cause they're going to be snatched from their mothers to be shot in Vietnam."
January 1968. Fathers and sons, fathers and daughters. Every day, long-haired, bearded kids my age protest McNamara's war. His son, Craig, is one of the protesters. McNamara and his son don't speak to each other. Outside the walls of the White House, protesters chant, "Hey, hey, LBJ." The president's daughters live there with him, day after day, louder than the walls are thick. "Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" What do Linda Bird, Lucy Baines, Mom and Dad talk about at supper? I don't demonstrate. Every day I shave, put on a suit, arrive early to work in the Pentagon. I'm in a hurry. A new marriage, an important first job working for Secretary McNamara, a career to build, college debt to pay. No time to waste.
The President. The President. Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter not sent. You are dead and I am in my 80s. Neither of us has the agency, energy, or even life we once had.
January 1968. Dear Mr. McNamara, first letter not sent. Senators call you an IBM machine on legs, jackhammer, whiz kid. You were the role model for us MBAs. Sharp-eyed analyst, emotionless decision maker, steel rim commander of people and events. Vietnam. I'm not sure about the domino theory, where and when we must say no, but you must be sure. And you've recruited me into DOD's Advanced Computer Group, deferred my draft so I can serve with technology and analytics, not guns and bombs. It feels like a calling. Here in the Pentagon, I have access to the newest technology. So much is coming so fast. It's exhilarating, scary, and frankly, sir, what your staff uses today is really out of date. Batch processing, green and white striped printouts, slashes through zeros. We will do better for you.
Dominoes. Falling to communism. China, Korea, Vietnam, Laos. Falling to the domino theory. Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, me.
The President. Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter not sent. And now, again, our country has become unmoored.
January 1968. What I said was, when and where did the Secretary say nuclear together with Vietnam. Now he can respond to Congress and reporters with exactly what he said. New text indexing makes every word, phrase, and paragraph searchable. We have coded the words of every Secretary of Defense speech, testimony, and interview into this program. Now the Secretary can say with certainty, I never paired nuclear with Vietnam. Computing is power. Computing itself is nuclear.
January 1968, 2.5 billion. There is urgency. Every month, defense spending ratchets up. More than budgeted, more than announced. My job is to give the Secretary a better forecast. Here in the Pentagon, from a keyboard right by my desk, I have dial-up access to new technology called time sharing. With it, I've built a statistical model to forecast spending. No key punch, no deck of punched cards, no journey to a glass-enclosed computer room. Time sharing is immediate. The public numbers for the President, Congress, and the press are still the original budget, but internally, for 6 months in a row, my model has forecast more accurately than the budget director. Now the Secretary wants my update right away. For the President, with time sharing, I can do this. My forecast is a budget overrun, 2.5 billion.
From the President. Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter not sent. Divided, hurt, and raging. We are battered by technology, social change, and again, Russia.
January 30th, 1968. Viet Cong stormed the U.S. compound in Saigon. Live coverage preempts Johnny Carson's late night show. Americans in our own embassy are taking fire. Americans in our own homes are watching. This night on TV, this day in South Vietnam, 100 cities and towns attacked in one massive, coordinated Tet assault. 30 days later, President Johnson reports, success, 32,000 enemy casualties. U.S. just 1,500. Assaults repelled in Saigon and elsewhere. No defections by the Army of South Vietnam. No uprising by the people. Our generals cite these data, report a great victory. Yet in our homes, where the Viet Cong have invaded our own living rooms, we viewers know what we saw. An enemy, fully committed, wants us gone. 4 years have passed since the foggy Tonkin Gulf and its clear congressional resolution. 20,000 Americans are dead. What are we winning?
February 2nd, 1968. The photo. The man's head is thrust to the left. The shooter's arm extends his Smith & Wesson pistol so close. He doesn't miss. Walks away. Manacled body left where it falls on the Saigon street. The picture on the front page of the New York Times arrives at the front door of 1 million American homes. Millions more see it in the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, on national television. The shooter is South Vietnam's national police chief. I cringe. America cringes. Are these the leaders we fight to save?
The President. Dear Mr. McNamara, letter 3, not sent. America is a scary place to be, as it was in '68.
February 1968. Dear Mr. McNamara, next letter, not sent. Watching Tet live on TV, did you wince as Viet Cong guerrillas rampaged our Saigon embassy? 2 days later, did you recoil at the execution photo in the Times? I did. I'm beginning to get it. The attacks, body count, secrets, the protest, division, rage. America is not winning. We are losing America. Sir, are the dominoes worth it? Are they really dominoes at all? You resign, leave the Pentagon, move to the World Bank. You say nothing, closed as a vault.
March 31st, 1968. It's Sunday, March 31st, and I've invited close friends to our tiny apartment to watch the president's news conference. He has seen the defense overruns forecast by my computer model and reluctantly has believed the higher spending. He will now give a speech, and I think this is my moment in history. At 6 p.m., TV cameras focus on the seal of the president, then travel solemnly up the podium to the long and haggard face of Lyndon Baines Johnson. He begins, "Tonight I want to speak to you of peace in Vietnam." After 16 minutes, the president devotes just 11 seconds to my $2.5 billion overrun projection. 24 minutes later, he concludes, "Accordingly, I shall not seek and will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president." Our friends and I have a good chuckle at this early lesson in humility, my historic moment eclipsed. Later, after the headlines, I think, yes, I did play a role in this important moment.
Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter, not sent. When you were in your 80s, you tried to sort it out for us in the documentary Fog of War.
April 4th, 1968. MLK Jr. In the Pentagon parking lot, I watched smoke billow over the district. Smoke over 7th Street, where my wife takes the bus from work. Late getting home, she says, traffic stalled, the bus stopped. They had baseball bats, broke windows, ran away with TVs, clothes. No, they didn't come near the bus. One kid threw a rock. I was scared of them. I say, it's so ironic, his nonviolence and these awful riots, and in their own neighborhoods, burning their own stores. Why? I just don't understand. Glad to be home, safe, in our Georgetown apartment. We hold hands, watch the news.
April 6th, 1968. April 6th. Army troops in Capitol as Negroes riot. That from a New York Times headline. President Johnson acts, 12,000 federal troops, 1,800 National Guard mobilized with DC police to contain violence to the streets, contain violence to the streets of black neighborhoods. Except for one Army soldier behind his machine gun, the steps of the Capitol are quiet, vacant, unoccupied, the flag idles at half-mast.
June 6th, 1968, RFK. In 1960, I didn't go downtown to see JFK when he campaigned in Hartford. Too far, schoolwork, inconvenient. Now he's gone. In '63, I couldn't understand why classmates went south, got into trouble, got arrested. Didn't they need a summer job? Now RFK is gone too. In my hurry, what have I hurried past?
The President, dear Mr. McNamara, last letter not sent. Staring into the camera, you jackhammered 11 steel-rimmed policy lessons.
Eliza, at the theater, I watched Kubrick's movie, 2001, A Space Odyssey. Mission Commander David Bowman and company, HAL 9000, struggled to control each other and mankind. I calculate that in 2001, I will be just 59 and quite alive. I hurry away from the theater, worry about what's coming in 31 years. At a Pentagon lunch that same spring, an MIT professor converses with software named Eliza, trained to respond as a therapist. Eliza, is something bothering you? Professor, people are angry. Eliza, why do you say that? Professor, because I am angry too. Eliza, do you believe it's normal to be angry? It's not the voice of hell, but like someone I could talk to. Daily, I am on the computer. It calls me, rewards me, not by coercion, but by seduction. The digital nicotine.
July 1968, the ARPANET. My role at DoD sits me atop a gusher of new computer technology. Text indexing for speeches, time sharing for expenditure forecasting, disk access for DoD statistics. So empowering for me, and such support for the Secretary. Defense's own Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, funds much of this development. This July, they have a new initiative connecting 4 computers in California and Utah, machine to machine, full-time, seamless. They call it the ARPANET. ARPA invited IBM, Burroughs, Univac, 140 top tech companies in all to bid. 128 declined. Can't understand why one would want such a thing. I don't get it either. What can connected do that separate cannot?
The President, dear Mr. McNamara, Last letter, not sent. But towards the end, he quoted a few lines of T.S. Eliot poetry, lines that hint of a different, more personal inquiry.
August 5th to the 8th, 1968, Republican National Convention. Started, ended, no fuss. Nixon.
August 20th, 1968, Czechoslovakia. In what is termed a police action, Russia and 3 Warsaw Pact allies invade the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic to repress Prague Spring reforms of speech, education, and voting. Czech leader Dubček is detained. Unbalanced by the murders of King and Kennedy, divided by Vietnam, and disillusioned by the domino theory, we hardly notice the Czech domino fall.
August 26th to 28th, 1968, Democratic National Convention. In Chicago's Grant Park, a crowd of yippies and young protesters prepare to march the few blocks to the Democrats' convention. A young man caught lowering the American flag is beaten by police. The marchers pelt police with food, bottles, and rocks, chant, "Hell no, we won't go," and "Pigs are whores." The police respond with clubs, tear gas, call them cocksuckers. Tom Hayden and 600 others are detained. The riot is covered live on TV. America is picking sides. Humphrey is nominated.
The President. Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter, not sent. I, too, need to sort it out. The then and the now.
October 16, 1968. Champion, Tommy Smith. He has just won the 200-meter race at the Mexico City Olympics, set the world's record. On the top step of the podium, a gold medal rests on his black tracksuit. USA emblazoned over his heart. When the Star-Spangled Banner begins, he faces the American flag, bows his head, raises his right arm to its full length, and clenches his black gloved hand into a fist. There are boos as the champion steps from the podium. Around the globe, the photo, his story, his name, our front page. Banned by the Olympic Committee, Tommy Smith says, Black America will understand.
October 1968. How do you slice rage? Up and down? Into authority and students? Left and right? Liberal and conservative? White and black? The great fire of hate draws us, even us leaves and twigs, into its crackling gyre. We have burned before. There can be no good end, no end at all, it seems.
The President, dear Mr. McNamara, last letter, not sent. You me, all of us together in the thick of the Vietnam War, the division and hate, the gush of technology.
November 9th to the 10th, 1968. Election. In the booth, I shift, foot to foot. A bold Nixon promises an honorable end to the war, wants law and order at home. The administration where I work has paused bombing to negotiate. Humphrey is now its candidate, its third candidate. Neither side has a good answer to the war. It's time to go. I pull the lever of the team I work for. The election shifts foot to foot. Next day results too close to call. Second day, Nixon wins. On stage, he raises his right arm to its full length, makes a V with his white right hand. There are cheers. The Democrats are out, Johnson will go, McNamara is gone. The war continues in Vietnam. I go back to my duty in the Pentagon and wonder how much longer for the war, for me here.
November 1968. Of curious note, reading details of the election, I am surprised that Wallace LeMay win 5 Deep South states, break the Democratic stronghold. What an odd pairing, what an odd result. George Wallace, the pro-segregation former governor of Alabama. Curtis LeMay, the Air Force general who suggested atomic weapons for Vietnam. Both sport tough guy personas, and 1 out of 7 Americans voted for them. Why do we support them? Who are we anyway?
The President. Dear Mr. McNamara, last letter not sent. Documentaries and pronouncements are not for me, but I can write.
December 31st, 1968. Where have all the soldiers gone? Which is from a song by Pete Seeger. Every morning, congressmen call the secretary's office to ask, how many of my constituents have been killed? With our new DISC database, we can search by name, rank, race, zip code, place, and time of death. There is no waiting for spinning tapes. The office can answer quickly without having to think about it, without having to think. From the new database, the answer to Congress is 16,899 dead in just this year of 1968. The answer from the rest of the song is, gone to graveyards, everyone. Oh, when will we ever learn?
Dear Mr. McNamara, letter 3, not sent. You are dead and I'm in my 80s. Neither one of us has the agency, energy, or even life we once had. And now again our country has become more divided, hurt, and raging. We are battered by technology, political change, and again, Russia. America. Our America is a scary place to be, as it was in '68. Mr. McNamara, when you were in your 80s, you tried to sort it out for us in the documentary Fog of War. Staring into the camera, you jackhammered 11 steel-rimmed policy lessons. But toward the end, you quoted a few lines of T.S. Eliot poetry. Lines that hint of a different more personal inquiry. I too need to sort it out, the then and the now. You, me, all of us together in the thick of the Vietnam War, the division and hate, the gush of technology. No, documentaries and pronouncements, they're not for me. But I can write. I will write poems of 1968. Let them speak as they will. Let them speak as they will to each of us and to me.